What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs DFS, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going over the Thursday night showdown between Green Bay and Arizona. Arizona is the home team. They are a 6.5 point favorite. And so you can see Davante Adams is probably looking at a 99% chance of not playing. Allen Lazard, 100% not playing. DeAndre Hopkins popped up today, Wednesday, as questionable, but they expect him to play. And that is really it for the injury news. Besides MVS returning from IR, we still haven't heard anything. So I'll talk if playing, if not playing on both sides, of course. So I said Arizona home team favored by almost a touchdown now at this point. In order for them to cash, it's a touchdown. So you can see the top three players on both sides: Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams. But on Fanduel, we have a little bit of a price difference than DraftKings. So on Fanduel, Aaron Jones is the fourth, and then DeAndre Hopkins. And on DraftKings, it's different, and the prices, as you can see, $1,600 difference. Then you get James Conner, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds, FanDuel. You get Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Connor Edmonds. Connor Edmonds, you actually get a discount on FanDuel, which I like quite a bit rather than DraftKings. DraftKings are still pretty high up there in price, especially James Conner, $7,800, Chase Edmonds, $7K, and then Christian Kirk, $7,200, and on FanDuel, $11,000. So, the way that I see this game going, and the way that I'm going to set my lineups is Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers are probably both going to be in my lineups. Now, I know that Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, number one receiver and one of the best receivers in the league, is probably not going to play. They are playing on the road. But the two games that Davante Adams missed last season against the Saints and the Falcons. Saints, a very good defense last year as well. Not as good as how they're playing this year, but still very good defense. And they had Drew Brees. Green Bay won that game without him. And it was Allen Lazard, basically. Aaron Rodgers still put up Aaron Rodgers numbers. Nothing really changed there. But Allen Lazard saw high usage in one game, and the other game was the tight end. So Robert Tonyan, Mercedes Lewis both got touchdowns in those games. So to go off that, what we're looking at in this game, Kyler Murray has been, I think, for the most part, pretty consistent as far as yardage. The only thing that really changes is his rushing yards, his rushing touchdowns, and that's basically it. I mean, you've seen his pass attempts are pretty close to around 30. I think that's pretty good base, 30, 31 attempts on the season. His yardage, you get anywhere between lowest game is 229, highest game is 400. But for the most part, it's the mid 200s. So I think Kyler Murray is being smart, or Arizona is being smart and trying not to let Kyler Murray run down the field as much and get hit. So I think both quarterbacks are guys that you should be playing in this game. You can captain either one. I don't think either one's a bad play. It's just the $600 you save if you put Aaron Rodgers in the captain and then Kyler Murray. Because if you end up putting Kyler Murray, you're paying $900 more dollars. But Kyler Murray is more of a favorite. The total's at basically 51 points. So you're going to get points scored on both sides. Aaron Rodgers is facing a more difficult defense than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, although Arizona should be able to run the ball, Green Bay's given up over 100 rushing yards every game this season. But Green Bay's secondary, even though it's really banged up, has yet to really see teams throw the ball quite a bit on them. Their secondary's stepped up for the most part, I guess. And Arizona's defense looks pretty good. But Aaron Rodgers finds a way to get things done. So let's take a look at it. after the two quarterbacks. DeAndre Hopkins plays. DeAndre Hopkins is definitely a play for me. I think this is a game where DeAndre Hopkins, if it's close and not 6.5, if Green Bay's hanging in the game and they're down by 3 the entire time, DeAndre Hopkins is definitely going to be somebody you look at to be that number 1 receiver in this clutch game. Aaron Jones, although Aaron Jones is probably going to get his carries. Aaron Jones, in those games to where Devontae Adams was out last season, did not rush over 100 yards. He's only rushed for 100 yards once this season, but you can look at his carries, and he hasn't seen more than 20 attempts in a game. The good thing is he's getting targets this season, a lot more than he has, and that's to do with Jamal Williams being out, and A.J. Dillon still stepping in. I think A.J. Dillon, for the running back side of Green Bay, at the price that he's at $1,400, you look at some of his DraftKings points that he's put up, the amount of volume he's seen in some of these games, he's definitely someone you should also consider. If you don't want to play Aaron Jones, you want to go for a cheaper option for Green Bay, A.J. Dillon is definitely someone there. Now, between James Conner and Chase Edmonds, I think this is a very close matchup. You can see on both sites, you get a pay down on Edmonds on both sites, and they're kind of similar in pricing due to the pricing adjustments on the sites. But here's the thing about James Conner. 6 total touchdowns on the season. You go to Chase Edmonds, still 0. James Conner is that guy that they trust to get the touchdowns in the red zone. Chase Edmonds is usually a guy that they want to get the ball between the 20s. James Conner has been getting a lot more attempts, though. You look at his rushing attempts, he's seen one game under 10 once. And that's a game where Kyler Murray threw for 400 yards. On that, James Conner's got a lot of carries, and he gets the red zone carry. So it's definitely a rough one. Chase Edmonds does have the targets, though, and the receptions through the backfield. So, like I said, if Green Bay's in this game, Arizona has to throw the ball. Look for Chase Edmonds to get the receptions rather than James Conner being in the game for rushes. Now, Christian Kirk, here's the difficult thing. Christian Kirk, the last 2 outings, has gotten you at least 15 fantasy points because he's gotten the 2 touchdowns. But throughout, he's put up some pretty good games, and then he's put up some very donut-like games. But the lowest game he has put up is 1.5. Other than that, 9.5 and above on the season isn't bad at all. Green Bay's secondary has stepped up. Green Bay's secondary should be getting burnt right now for all the injuries, but they're not. If there's a team that can exploit it, it should be Arizona. And you're looking at your D-Hop, your Christian Kirk, you're looking for an AJ Green on 3rd downs, and Randall Moore possibly getting a 40, 50-yard reception down the field with how crazy he is at just his speed, his route running, and his catches. But Christian Kirk is probably the more safer play. DeAndre Hopkins is the number 1 receiver. If you can't get to him, Christian Kirk should definitely be an option you look at. And then you have AJ Green there as well. You look at AJ Green's fantasy points, and he's had, 2 worse games than Christian Kirk. But, other than that, his numbers were pretty consistent with about 6 targets throughout the season. He's had 2 games where he didn't get it, but also the yardage, and he hasn't really been touchdown dependent. Only 3 touchdowns this season. DeAndre Hopkins is still their red zone receiver, so it's hard to say who other than DeAndre Hopkins is there to target for the red zone. And then last, you have to consider Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz in his first game gets you 16 DraftKings points. Targeted 5 times already in his first game, which is huge for a tight end to be traded and put up these numbers. So Zach Ertz is also an option on the Arizona side. Green Bay is, you don't have to look at it here, but among all the stats given to tight ends, they're pretty average. Not great and not terrible either. So Zach Ertz is definitely a like for me. He's somebody that I'm trying to get into lineups. So you can see on Fanduel, sorry, I passed him. Zach Ertz is below James Conner, Chase Edmonds at 8,500. He's above Randall Moore. He's above Robert Tonyan. So it's the same thing on here. Right above Randall Moore, right above Robert Tonyan. And let's actually talk about them. So Randall Moore, like I said, he's somebody that is going to get you a mid to deep yard reception, hopefully, for yardage in this game. But as you can see, his fantasy points, he's a boom or bust. He is the definition of boom or bust. So maybe this is a game where he gets his boom. So as far as if you're playing more of a safer tournament tomorrow, he's probably not a guy to go to. If you're playing quite a few lines, you're looking for somebody to just be different, Rondell Moore is probably that guy to go to. Like I mentioned, Robert Tonyan stepped up in the games that Davante Adams was out last season. You look at his numbers on the season, just 2 games above 10 points, just 2 games of fantasy relevance, and you're playing the number 1 defense against tight ends. So that is a question mark there. He's definitely worth taking in some tournaments because he's probably going to have low ownership. Let's talk about the kickers. Matt Prater and Mason Crosby, 4,200, 4,000 on FanDuel. Matt Prater is surprisingly above Zach Ertz, which is beyond weird. But Matt Prater is more expensive on both sides, and that's just due to Arizona's favoritism. So, I mean, you can look at Prater's stats on the season. Most field goals he's attempted is 3, which is multiple games. Other than that, he's gotten 2 the rest of the season, kicking 80%. And we compare it to Mason Crosby, 75%. And you see the game against Cincinnati, which went into overtime. He got 7, but other than that, he's only seen a few games of multiple field goal attempts. So this is a game where I see Mason Crosby getting multiple field goal attempts. So in my opinion, Mason Crosby is actually the kicker to get rather than Matt Prater. Green Bay's red zone defense is terrible, so I expect if Arizona gets to the red zone, they're probably going to convert on it. And now we get to the more interesting part on both sites. We get down to Randall Cobb, MVS, as you can see on FanDuel. Randall Cobb and A.J. Dillon are more expensive than MVS. On DraftKings, you get MVS being more expensive than Randall Cobb, A.J. Dillon. We mentioned A.J. Dillon, very good cheap play at 1,400, something you should definitely look at. The interesting part is MVS at this point right now, that I'm still recording, is traveling to Arizona, hopes to play, but we haven't gotten any confirmation on it. So if MVS is in, I don't know, it's hard to say, because in the 2 games that Davante Adams was out last season, he didn't do anything crazy and become the wide receiver 1. And as you can see, his numbers for the 3 games he's played this season, 14.9, 0, 4.7. It's not promising. So 2 key factors last season without Davante Adams, and the numbers this season, not very promising. You're going to look for Randall Cobb. You don't want Randall Cobb to be the guy that gets you a 2-touchdown game. That's not what you're expecting Randall Cobb to be. You're expecting Randall Cobb to be Aaron Rodgers' trust here. If MVS does become out, Randall Cobb should definitely be the number 1 receiver for Green Bay. And like I said, you're not expecting him to get the 2 touchdowns. That's not what you want. You want him to get the 3rd down conversions, which he is known for. You want him to be the guy late in the game that Aaron Rodgers is going to target every single throw just because he's reliable. Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with Randall Cobb. At 3,600, paying for basically number 1 receiver tomorrow night, that's something that is amazing to get that at that price. Defenses, I really don't like either of the defenses in this game. I think the 50.5, I think the game goes over. That's probably going to be my bet tomorrow. But you can't deny of what Arizona's defense has done against teams. 16 against Tennessee, 18 against Jacksonville, 12 against Cleveland, 11 against Houston. Even the games to where they're facing more rough opponents, they give up 1 in that Minnesota game, but that was a great game. 5 against the Rams, 8 against the San Francisco. So I'm not expecting to play either defense. And then we go down. We mentioned A.J. Dillon on both sides. He's pretty cheap down there. And now we get to the last 2 cheap options. So on DraftKings, if MVS is out, this opens up opportunities for both St. Brown and Rodgers. If MVS is in, Brown is probably going to be the guy, and you might see Amari Rodgers for a few plays, depending on what they do with MVS fully. So as you can see, St. Brown, $6K, Amari Rodgers at $5,500. So like I mentioned, if MVS is out, Amari Rodgers becomes playable. If MVS is in, you're looking at St. Brown, and it's $600 for paying a receiver that's going to be in the game probably at least 75% of the time. So let's just throw a line in there just to be that person. Let's throw Aaron Rodgers. Let's throw Kyler Murray. Let's throw Randall Cobb in there. Let's throw a running back for Arizona because we want Arizona running back. I'm going to put Chase Edmonds in there. We get $5,100. We don't have a receiver for Arizona yet, so let's put Christian Kirk in there, and then we get $3,100. And just for the sake of it, let's put A.J. Dillon in there. So the line like this, what it creates, you get both quarterbacks who should be the top 2 scorers. You get Green Bay's number 1 or number 2 receiver. You get a running back for Arizona. Now, like I said, I do like James Conner more, but just for the sake of it, I mean, you could still put James Conner in. Let's just put James Conner in. He gets the touchdowns. Let's put him in. So you get James Conner. You get a pretty consistent receiver, or more safer receiver, in Christian Kirk. And then you get the running back for Green Bay. You're paying down for a running back who 3.6, 3.6, 4.6, 5.9, and only 0.8 points against Washington, but has that upside of getting you maybe 10 fantasy points, and paying $1,400 for him is amazing. So let's do a Fanduel one as well, just to make it fun. Let's put both of them in there. We could play Kyler in the captain or the MVP, since they don't do a price adjustment for it. So we get 93 for the pricing. Yet again, we'll put Randall Cobb in there. We get 10.5 to play around with. For this one, let's put D-Hop in, and we get 9K. For the sake of this, too, we'll put Zach Ertz in there. So a little bit different just because of pricing. On this, we can't afford DeAndre Hopkins, or we really can't afford Zach Ertz. We can probably get to Zach Ertz, but there's just a difference. That's what I like about FanDuel and DraftKings, is the differential in pricing. And the way they have the contest. FanDuel does not have defenses and only have 5 players. DraftKings has 6 players and has defenses, but you also get pricing like Amari Rodgers and St. Brown there. You could get both of them for $1,000, so that's kind of crazy. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe. And if you guys are interested in joining our Discord, the link for that will be down in the description as well. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.